Hello everyone, welcome to Jolly Molly TV. Are you ready for another fun part of Kimberbell's Candy Corn Quilt Shop? I am, and today we're going to be working on the pinwheels. So we have a large one here, another one here, and an orange large one here. And then we're also going to be making these 3 small pinwheels. So this is going to be fun. You won't need your embroidery machine for today, but you're going to need your sewing machine. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's go over to the table and let's get going on these pinwheels. All right, so we're at the table and I've pulled the fabric out of my pouch system that was labeled pinwheels, and I've gone ahead and put them into piles, and I would like you to do the same thing. You have 2 of the black orange if you're using the fabric kit, and then you have 2 of the white. So this is going to be a pinwheel right here. Okay, then you're going to have 4 pieces of the purple and the green, and then 4 pieces in the white, and these are the larger pinwheels. Okay, this will make 2 pinwheels. Then you also need to get out your small pinwheels. You should have 6 pieces of the orange and 6 of the white, because we're going to do these at the same time. These will make 3 of the pinwheels. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is set these guys aside, and we're going to work on the orange and the black pinwheels. And if you're looking at the instructions, Kimberbell's instruction book, we're going to do the large pinwheels first on page 38. Okay, so what you need for this step is you need a smaller ruler. I'm using my 3 by 12 inch Quilter Select. Has that really nice coating on the back. So you need a smaller ruler for this, and I'm just using a regular pencil. You can use like a Choco liner or a friction pen too if you like, but I'm going to use just a regular pencil because on the back it'll be very light on the white and you won't see it at all. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of the white fabric and I'm going to turn it and put it right side facing down. Okay, so when I'm going to draw this line, I want to draw it on the back side, not the top. So again, right side facing down. And what I'm going to do is take my ruler and I want to line it up. So I'm going to want to draw a line from one point to the other point. Okay, just like that. Hold the ruler down. And I'm just going to draw a line, not too dark, but dark enough that I can see it. Okay, this line is going to be your cut line. So now from this line, I want to go over a 1/4 inch, and sometimes it's easier to go past it and then slide it back. So I want to line up so I am a 1/4 inch past that line. Okay, line it up, 1/4 inch. Then I want to draw another line. Okay, so this second one is going to be my first sew line, and I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to do another line, again 1/4 inch away from that first line. 1/4 inch, like right about, get it perfect here, right about there. Okay, and then I'm going to draw another line. Okay, all right, so the center line, if you can see it, the center line is going to be your cut line, and these outer 2 lines are going to be your sew line. And see, you can't see it from the top side. Okay, but again, this center one's going to be your cut line, and these 2 are going to be sew lines that we're going to do in a little bit. So now I want you to do the same thing for all these other white pieces, not the colored. Put the color up away from you. That we'll deal with the colors later. Okay, I want you to do the same thing for all these white blocks. Okay, all right, so let's fast forward and let's put lines on all the back of these. So now we have all of these marked. I've got all the small ones marked and all the large ones marked as well. So now we are going to take these pieces, large with the large, small with the small, and we're going to take these over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to show you how to sew them together. Okay, we're at the machine. So we've got two piles here. We've got the larger blocks all marked, and we've got the smaller ones also marked. I'm going to put the smaller ones to the side. We're going to work on the larger ones first. Okay, so we're going to take one of the white ones that we have marked, and then we're going to take one of the larger, darker ones, like the black with the polka dot. And we've got the two fabrics right side up here. I'm going to flip the white one over so that the fabrics are right sides together. And I'm going to line it up. Okay. Get them all lined up. Don't have to pin it or anything because I'm just going to put it right underneath. Okay. And I can see my darker one slightly larger than the white, so I kind of centered the white on it. And now we're going to sew on this outer line, not the center. The center is going to be your cut line. You want to sew on the outer line. Okay. And I'm just going to put my foot down, take a few stitches, back stitch to lock them in, and I'm just going to sew on that line all the way down. Now I'm going to take the next piece, do the same thing. So right sides are up, flip it, right sides together. All right, that looks good. And I'm going to continue on, lift the foot. It's kind of what's called chain sewing. Oops, I'm off a little bit, go back. There we go. Get my start perfect here. Just want to try to sew on that line. There we go, and do the next one. And so on and so forth. So right sides up, flip it over. And make sure we get them lined up here. This one's off a little bit. There, that's good. Okay. And off we go. And I want you to do this for all the large blocks. There we go. So let's fast forward through the rest of these. Same thing. And let's get them all sewn. Okay, so now I'm going to take them all off. And now we got to do the same thing for the opposite side. See, we sewed on this one. So now I want to do the same thing, and I want to sew on this side. So with them all still together, I'm just going to flip them around and sew on this side. Okay, so now we'll take those off the machine, and you have a nice little chain there. Let's set those aside, and I want to do the exact same thing for the small ones. So again, right sides are up, flip that one over so right sides are together, and stitch on the outer line, this outside line. Okay, so now we're going to take these off the machine, Same thing we did with the large ones. We're going to turn them around. And now that we've sewn on this side, now I want to sew on this other outer line and do the same thing. And here we go. Okay, so those are also sewn on the outside line along with the large ones. Okay, so now I'm going to take this over to the cutting mat and we're going to separate these. Hey, don't these look fun? It's like make a little banner. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to separate them. And I stitched them a little close, so I'm just going to come in here and snip the threads in between each of these little blocks, as I'll call them. I'll just snip. Oop. Okay, so we got those two. And just separate them. Don't cut the fabric, just cut the thread in between. These are going to make little cute half square triangles here in a minute. And a couple more. Okay, I got the big ones done. Black and purple. I'm going to do the same thing for the small ones. I left a little bit more room on these. So they're a little bit easier to trim if you leave a little bit more room in between. Not a problem. And a couple more. And all the little ones are done. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to cut these on that center line. Remember, we stitched on the two outside lines. So now I want to take a ruler and my rotary cutter and I want to just cut it right down the middle. Easy peasy. All right. So line it all up. Ruler down and cut. Oops. Didn't quite get through that last little piece. There we go. And then when we open them up, look what we get. So cute. All right, so now that's all we have to do to the rest of these blocks is put them all on the white side and cut down the middle. So let's fast forward through this and trim all these up. So now we have these cute little piles of our half square triangles. Look, isn't that cute? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my pressing board over here and we're going to press these open. So we are ready to go. So what I want to do is I want to press each one of these open. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the seam toward the dark side. Okay, because I don't want it to accidentally be on the light side and have anything show through. Like I can see that line right there. So I'm going to press the seam toward the dark side. Now first I'm just going to finger press it and then I'm going to run it right here for a few seconds with a dry iron and there's a perfect press. Okay, so let's again do another one. So again, put the seam toward the dark side, finger press it a little bit, and I just hold it there and press it. Okay, so isn't that cute? That is so cute. All right, so I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to keep doing these. All right. Aren't those cute? All right, so now I'm going to take this off the table, and because I want to get back to the cutting mat, and we're going to be trimming off the dog ears next. Okay, so we've got these here. Now we want to trim up the dog ears. So all I do is I take my ruler and I put it up against the edge of the block, and I run my rotary cutter just to get off those dog ears. Okay, real easy. There we go. Just want to do the dog ears. Okay, now as long as I'm doing this, I need to square these blocks up to 2.5 inches square. Alright, so as long as I'm touching this block, I've done the dog ears. Now I need to square this block up to 2.5 inches. And right now it's going to be 3 inches square, give or take the wonkiness of it. So we need to trim this up to 2.5 inches. So all I'm going to do, because this has got kind of a other edge too, is I'm going to go to 2.5 here. So 1, 2.5. I'm going to leave it a little bit because I want to trim up that edge because it's kind of wonky too. So I'm going to do this 1, 2.5. Straighten that. Flip it around the other side. And on this ruler, I can literally line up the this 1/2 inch mark right here to get it nice and perfect. So those two sides are done. Then I'm going to come over here, do the same, leaving a little bit of space here because I got to trim that up to make this nice and pretty, like so. And I got that, and then I'm coming over here, and we're going to make this a perfect 2.5, like so. Okay, so look, we have a little perfect 2.5 inch square block. Isn't that adorable? The trick to doing this is if I line up my line 1.5 right at the point where it's going to make that point, then my cuts will be good. All right, so I go that way and I flip it. See, my edge of the ruler is at that point and that point. Okay. That point and that point. Right on. Ta-da. Okay, so now we're going to fast forward through this, and I want to do the same thing with the rest of these. I want to trim off the dog ears first, and then I want you to square up all the large ones to 2.5 inches. And then when we're done with that, we'll come back and we'll do the small ones. Okay, let's go. we did it. All right, so we got all these little ones, all these big ones, and then I've got actually 2 boo-boos I have to do, because this one got off-center just a little bit there, and this one is not at the point on the purple. So I'm going to go back into my kit and pull up the fabric for these 2 and redo it. And a matter of fact, yeah, there's plenty of fabric in there. So I got to redo these 2, but don't feel bad if you got a boo-boo too. In the world of quilting, this is minor. This is something that it's going to happen even to the best of us on any given day. So the fact that I have to redo 2 is not a big deal to me. Okay, so I want to go redo these 2, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to lay these out, and then we're going to sew them together into pinwheels. All right, be right back. Okay, back at the machine. I had barely enough fabric to recreate these 2, but I made it. Okay, that's the only downside when you purchase a kit, is there's a little bit of fabric left over, but not a lot. But I did have enough to do these 2, and see, they're much better on the points. But yeah, it was kind of close there, but we made it. Okay, that's a good thing. So I've got these little ones all ready to go, and the big ones, and now we are ready to sew these together. So we now have to put 4 of the same color blocks together to form a pinwheel. So the design is going to be, that's the first one, so the dark facing the upper corner. Then we're going to do this one, and think of it as the point of a pinwheel is in the center, and then the fan blades go this way. If you want to look at the instructions too, look at page 38, and it'll guide you on how to position these. But I want that one that way. Again, the pinwheel is in the center, and then this one goes that way. So I have the up, the side, the bottom, and that side, and there's a pinwheel. Isn't that cute? Okay, so now all we have to do is we have to sew these 2 together on this edge right here. Okay, so I'm going to turn that over, and I'm going to sew these 2 together. I'm just going to make sure they're lined up nicely, just like that. 1/4 inch seam, that's all you need. 1/4 inch seam. There we go, and sew them together. Okay. And there we go, and I want to put it back in position and make sure I've got everything. Yes, that works. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with these 2. Flip them over. We're going to sew it on this edge here, like so. Oops, not lined up. I think they were lined up, and then they were not lined up. All right, here we go. 1/4 inch seam. Okay, and we got another one. Make sure I got that one. See, had it upside down there in position. Okay, so now we're going to press these seams open before we stitch any further. Okay, finger press it first. Okay. And I have the seam of this one going to the left. This is the bottom one. There we go. See, it gets confusing. So I have the seam of this one going to the left. Now I'd like the seam of this one going toward the right. Okay. When I'm opposite, because that way it'll make it a little bit easier to nest those seams. Okay, so this one's going toward the right. This one's going toward the left. Isn't that cool? All right, let's move back here to the machine a little bit. There we go. Now we're going to stitch these together. And you see why we wanted the seams going the opposite direction, because now I can nest those. You can actually feel if there's a gap between those. Like if I was to come way over here, it'd be like, oh no, I feel a ditch in between those two. So you just line them back up until they feel nice and kind of a snug little fit there without a gap. And what I tend to do is I will put a clover clip once I have that good feeling between those two seams. I'll put a clover clip, and then I can go ahead and line up these others here and here and not have to worry about it. Okay, so clover clips are very, very handy. Love those things. Okay, and then that keeps my seam in place as I get ready to stitch. So now I'm just going to stitch, oops, there we go, with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, 1/4 inch. The first one off. Don't forget to go back a couple at the beginning to lock those stitches in. And then as I get toward the seam, I take the clover clip off. When I go slow, I'm not in any hurry. My 1/4 inch, I'm just lining it up with the 1/4 inch on my machine. There's also a 1/4 inch foot, which comes in very handy. It has a guide on the one side that all you got to do is keep your fabric up against it, and you'll get a perfect 1/4 inch seam. Okay, let's see. Not too shabby. I'll take it. I will take it. Okay, so now we're going to press it, and see, you got this seam in the middle. So what I like to do is I like to literally press this seam open so that the block will lay much flatter when I put it into the project. Okay. Come on, seams, open up. There we go. All right. And can you see that there? And then I lay everything flat. So my seams, oops, lay down flat all the way around. And we are good. We have our first pinwheel. Look at that. All right, so now let's do that again. Same thing. So we want to position, let's see. This one goes that way. Next one goes this way. Next one goes this way. And this one goes that way. Remember, the points are in the middle. All right? So let's fast forward. Let's put this one together. And then go ahead and do the same thing for the orange and black ones. And then do the same thing for these little guys. Same layout, same position, same process. Okay? Let's fast forward and get these pinwheels sewn together. did it! Look at that. Yeah, they're not perfectly perfect, but that's okay. I'm going to take it because that is good enough for me. It is so close. I love it. So I got 3 little ones. And I got 2 of the big purple ones and 1 of the big orange ones. Isn't that amazing? You did it. So now we're going to take these over to the table, and we have 1 step left to do on these. Aren't they adorable? And you did it. Like I said, they don't have to be perfect. It's all good. So by the way, if you're a machine embroiderer and have never quilted before, guess what? You just quilted, because this is a pinwheel block, which is one of the foundation blocks in quilting. So if you didn't know that you quilted, you just did. How about that? Okay, so now the last thing we need to do is we need to square up these blocks, okay? So the large blocks, let's put this aside for a second. The large blocks need to be 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches. And most of them are going to be spot on. So I just lay my ruler down on top of the block. I line it up, because you've got some seams below it now, so it's a little bit thicker. And I'm just going to roll my ruler right up to there, and that side's good. Okay, lucky on that one. Let's do this again. Run it up to 4.5. And I got just a smidge. This is not a major cut. This is just getting it to size so that when we go to sew it into all the other blocks, that it is going to be same size. Okay, that side's good. I know I just did this, but I want to straighten this one up just a smidge right there. Okay. And now I'm going to this side. So it's really easy to do this. And just squaring it up. And you're just taking off slivers at this point. It's nothing major. Just little slivers. And I think we are good. That one's good. So let me quickly fast forward through this, and we'll get the last big one, and we're going to do the same thing for the little ones. The little ones are going to be squared up to 2.5 inches. All right, what do you think? Then I'll just take my scissors and I do the straggler threads that I didn't get off the sides. But don't pull on the edges because you don't want it to ravel any more than it already is going to be inclined to do. And then I just trim up. These are my applique scissors, but it works. It's the scissors I have in front of me. And just trim some of these threads up. Make it nice and pretty. And we will be good to go. So what do you guys think? Look at all these. Did you have fun making these? I did. And like I said before, if you hadn't quilted before, you just did. How about that? You just made pinwheels. All the extra threads I'll get off later, but isn't this adorable? I love it. All right, what do you think? You did it. And these have a little personality. They're so small, but they're pressed. Once they're sewn in, they'll be good. All right, so your last question that you're probably asking is, okay, now how do I quilt these? We're not going to be quilting these in this video. What we're going to do is we're going to wait until the next video. The next video we're going to be talking about the border blocks, which they don't address in the instruction book, on how to quilt those border blocks, and we'll use the same technique to quilt these blocks because we want them to go into our project already pre-quilted with batting and the whole thing. So we will deal with that in the next video when we do the border blocks, and I'll show you a cool technique for doing all this. So by the time we're done, all of these will be quilted as well. How about that? You guys did it! You rocked. All right, well, I hope you had fun making these pinwheel blocks, and I hope you subscribe to my channel. It's free, and it helps me do what I do for you, and I truly appreciate that. Also, when you're there, click the like button and click the bell notifications, because that way you'll be notified every time I upload a video. All right, so I hope to see you here next time on Jolly Molly TV. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.